Welcome to our appendix on printing on fabric. Adjusting color for printing on fabric is one of the hardest things to do. It can vary by printer, by ink type, by fabric or paper type, whether the fabric is processed in some way, the temperature, and the moon's relationship to the earth. I'm just kidding about that last one, but there are so many variables. Another variable is that the color on your monitor is not going to look like what comes out of a printer. It's just not physically possible. Whatever the reason, it would be really nice to be able to adjust the color. In 2016, we wrote an article about fabric printing companies, and we sent this image off to several printers. Here's our grayscale here. We wanted to compare skin tones and a few other things. We sent it to 6 different companies and got 6 different blacks and 6 different skin tones. If the skin tones really look like this, but you wanted to use this printing company, you'd have to make some adjustments to your file. And we can do that with adjustment layers. Okay, you're going to have to use your imagination a little bit as I explain how I would go about correcting the color of this image. You're going to have to pretend that this is a piece of fabric laying beside me on my desk. It would be really hard for me to videotape this piece of fabric lying on my desk and then go back to my monitor and show you what I'm doing and then go back to the actual piece of fabric and then go back and forth and back and forth. So just remember, I've called this fabric sample, so we're pretending this is a piece of fabric. This is the image that I sent into the printer to get this piece of fabric. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to double click on the background layer and make it into a regular layer. Let's just call this one Original. A lot of print-on-demand companies will let you print as small as a fat quarter. And so we could put a whole bunch of these images on one fat quarter and adjust each one so that we could send it off to the printer again with a few more adjustments. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the size of my image and the resolution. Let's go to Image, Resize, and first of all, let's look at the image size. This image is only 72 pixels, but it's also 55 inches wide at that resolution. So we first of all want to make the resolution, most places want it between 150 and 200, but if you've got it 300 pixels per inch, that's fine too. So let's turn off Resample Image and make this 300 pixels per inch. That's still 13 inches. Let's click OK. But I don't want to print this photo out at 13 inches, so I want to resize it again and make it Image, Resize, Image Size, and let's make it, say, 6 inches. 6 inches wide and whatever it is. And I want the resolution to be 300 pixels per inch. And you see how it keeps shifting here? So we're going to resample the image. If I press the Alt button, the cancel turns into a reset. So that's Alt reset or Option reset on a Mac. So we're going to resample the image. We have 300 pixels and we want it to be 6 inches. We're constraining the proportions, so it's going to be 6 inches by about 4 inches, and I'm happy with that. You could have done this all in one step, but it's easier for me to show you what can go wrong so that you'll know exactly what I'm doing. The next thing you want to do is we want to put this 6-inch image on a piece of paper or canvas that is 20 inches by 18 inches. That's about the size of a fat quarter I usually take an inch off the size so I have some margin for error. So next we're going to go to Image, Resize, and this time we're going to choose Canvas Size. We want to put that picture in the upper left-hand corner, and then we want to make this canvas 20 inches wide by 18, so I'll call it 17 inches. That's about the size of a fat quarter. So I've got my original on a transparent background. Let me double click the hand so you can see what I've got. You can see I've got a 6-inch image. We want to do some color adjustments on this picture, send it to the printer, and make sure that's what we want to do. So if I was going to print this image 40 inches wide so that I could have a whole cloth quilt, I would first send in a small test like this. Okay, so let's duplicate the layer. This is the original, this is our copy. Let's make sure we're on our copy and get the move tool and move it down a little bit. I guess I could slide over and move it to the edge. And we want to make some adjustments on this. And the easiest way to change the color or to adjust the color is with an adjustment layer. It's not only easy, but the adjustment layer doesn't actually change the pixels, it just stores the settings for us. So click the adjustment layer. Let's choose hue saturation. I think that this piece of fabric came back too saturated. And since this was the file I sent in, then I have to desaturate this image. Now, I just made a mistake, but I want to leave it in the video. Notice that this hue saturation is going to affect both images. Reset. I only want it to affect this one image right here. So I'm going to delete that adjustment layer, and I want to make a selection of just this image. To make a selection of everything on that layer, I hold down the Control key or the Command key in Mac and click on the icon in the Layer panel. So now I've got marching ants around this second image. Then I go and grab my hue saturation adjustment layer. You'll notice now there's black around part of it and white where this image is. What that's showing us is this adjustment layer is only going to affect this part of the image. Okay, here we go with the color correction. Let's zoom in a little. Maybe I can get both of these together. I think that this image, which printed out like this, is too saturated. So what I'm going to do is desaturate the image. So I'm going to get my slider and I'm going to slide it to the left. You see, all the way gives me a grayscale image, but I'm just going to go, maybe I'll do 10. On my monitor, I don't see a whole lot of difference, but I do notice that this is not quite as pink as this one here. I'm going to group the adjustment layer with the copy that I made. I'm going to Control click so that I've got both layers selected, and then I'm going to press the Create New Group. So now I've got Group 1, which contains the adjustment layer and the copy of the image all in one nice little package that I can turn off or on. Now let's say I want to try a different adjustment. I'm going to duplicate my background, that original layer again, get my move tool, and I'm going to move it somewhere else. Maybe I'll move it right next to, maybe below this one. Scroll over. So I can try another adjustment. Okay, I'm going to get my adjustment layer. Whoops, No, I'm going to make a selection of this part of the image, get an adjustment layer, try hue saturation again, and maybe this time, instead of desaturating everything, I'm just going to desaturate the red of the skin. So what I will do is go to the channel, and instead of using the master, which is all the colors, I'm going to choose red. In order to see actually what I'm doing, a lot of times I'll just adjust this way off and see if it's adjusting the part of the image that I want to. See how the face changed to blue? So I know I'm on the right channel. Reset. If I thought it might have been magenta, I could have clicked on magenta, done this adjustment, and see how it wasn't affecting the face. And the face is the part that really, I think, needs to be changed. Reset, go back to my reds. So now I could just say, I just want to desaturate the red. Not that much. Maybe that much. Maybe that would do it. Now I've got a whole bunch more fabric that I can print on. So I could fill this with other images that I want to test, or I could do some more adjustments to this. If I thought maybe the blue needed to be a little greener, I could do some adjustments to the blues also. But what I'm doing is I'm creating a file that has a bunch of test pictures on it. Let me get this hue saturation out of the way. And you know what I did? I need to go back and group these two images together. So I have to move this one up here so that they're together. Control click on them and press the group. I'm going to send this file to the printer, whether it's my personal printer or a fabric printing service. And it's going to come back to me, and I'm going to say, okay, I really like this one here. I can figure out which layer that is, open up that group, click on those sliders, and look to see what adjustment I made. Now I didn't make an adjustment on the master, so I have to look and see what I did. Oh, I made this adjustment on the reds. The next time I printed from this same printer, I would try this adjustment right here on any other image that I printed from this printer. Now it might not turn out right, but it might be just the thing I need. So I would write down the information, red, saturated -14. And then when I opened a new file that I wanted to print from that same printer, I would put that same adjustment layer on. Hue saturation, reds, and I don't have to slide the slider bar. I could just type in -14. Now there's not much red in this image, so it might not be the thing to do, but that's where I would start. Since I do want to print this piece 40 inches by 60 inches, then I would probably send a little swatch off to the printer and print it before I had them print the whole thing. We hope you have fun printing some of your own designs on fabric. And if you find any more printers we should test, send us a message.